Welcome, everyone. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We will share the screen. And we are looking at the slide that says topic. The topic today provides insights into the denominational nature of the Hindu temple worship by discussing a serious problem that faces Hinduism in North America and many other countries outside of India. The problem is created by the fact that many temples have shrines to both Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu, and choose to describe them simply by referring to the Puranic concept of the Hindu trinity. Here is an actual description from the website of a major temple. Vishnu is one of the gods of the Trinity. Vishnu represents the power of sustenance. The other two powers manifest in the world, namely creation and destruction, are personified as Brahma and Shiva, respectively. Vishnu is wedded to Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth. The significance is that sustenance or maintenance involves wealth. In order to maintain anything, the maintainer must necessarily possess wealth. In addition, Vishnu is the personification of Dharma, righteousness. Wealth must be obtained only in the way of Dharma. Hence, Lakshmi is wedded to Vishnu. Shiva, meaning the good, is the third member of the Trinity. He is also named as Mahesha, or Mahadeva, the greatest god. His consort is Shakti, or female energy. The fusion of two leads to new life. Shiva is represented by Linga, which symbolizes the divine act of creation. It represents the union of male and female energies, which creates new life. Shiva is said to be the destroyer, for it is the power of destruction that regenerates. And Shiva is propitiated for productivity and growth of the human race. These website descriptions create two major problems. First problem, this approach gives the impression, that Hindus do not believe in a supreme being, but simply in a trinity of separate gods. This, of course, gives the impression that Hinduism is polytheistic and thus is a pagan or primitive religion. Problem. Second problem, this approach gives the impression that all Hindus look at Shiva and Vishnu and the other deities in the same way, whereas each of Hinduism's main denominations has a distinct viewpoint. Also, the temple's website says nothing at all about Hindus worshiping a supreme being or the fact that there are four main denominations in Hinduism. And each looks at Shiva and Vishnu in a different way. Dhamma Lexicon, published by Madras University, has excellent definitions of Hinduism's four main denominations. Saivam, the religion which regards Shiva as the supreme being and is exclusively devoted to his worship, of 16 sects. Beautiful definition. Vaishnavam, the religion which holds Vishnu to be the supreme being. Shaktam, the religion which enjoins the exclusive worship of Shakti as the supreme being. Tamil lexicon definition for Smarta or Vaidika Sampradaya is found under Shan Matam. The 6 Vedic religious systems, Saivam, Vaishnavam, Shaktam, Ganapatiya, Kaumaram, and Sauram. Sauram is the sun, Surya. Next, I would like to share 2 stories of temple examples that do have clarity. During one visit to the Varasiddhi Vinayagar Temple in Toronto, I was given a tour of their classroom where they were teaching children and teenagers. I noticed on the blackboard of the teenagers' class in Tamil script these words. So I didn't have time to write it in Tamil or figure out how to draw lines. So you have to imagine that these words are in Tamil and there's certain lines that connect them. At the top was the word Shivan with a short line connecting it to the word Umai. Then a line from Shiva to the lower left to Pillayar, and from Shiva a line to the lower right to Murugan, who had 2 lines, one for Valli and one for Devayanai. You could clearly tell just from reading the board that they were learning the Saiva Samyam. There was no Vishnu on the board, no Lakshmi. Second event took place in San Jose, California at the Sri Lakshmi Ganapati Temple, which is part of the Vaidika Vidya Ganapati Center. We went to the temple for darshan with a small group of devotees. The priest arranged a ceremony to honor me in which one of my devotees offered flowers to my feet, one at a time, while they chanted. While the first foot was being offered flowers, they performed a chant to Shiva. And while the second foot was offered flowers, the 2 priests performed a chant to Narayana. That one foot received the blessings of Shiva and the other the blessings of Vishnu was to be expected, as the temple, as its name indicated, was of the Vaidika or Shanmata tradition. So its name actually indicated what it believed, which is unusual. We are actively encouraging all temples in the West to help create clarity as to Hindu belief by stressing on their websites and in their publications that first and foremost, Hindus all worship a one supreme being, though by different names and through different traditions. So as you know, I have jokingly say, Hindus all worship a one supreme being, they just don't agree on the name or the nature of that supreme being. That's like the idea of Tanadudaya Sivane Potri Anatavarkum Irava Potri. So in the south of India, God is worshipped as Shiva, but elsewhere he's Iravan. We are also encouraging temples to share more information on the specific temple traditions they are following, such as Mata, state whether the temple liturgy is of the Vaishnava, Shaiva, Shakta, or Vaidika traditions. Agama, give the name of the Agama which governs the temple ceremonies. Murti, describe the particular form of the main deity and the history of its worship in India. Archaka, give background on the priesthood that serves the temple. Darshana, name the specific philosophy or philosophies that are being taught at the temple. In case anyone isn't familiar with that use of the word darshan, darshan means sight. And usually we think of it as the devotee having the sight of the deity or the guru, but it also means philosophical sight. A philosophical opinion is called a darshana. So that's the use here, philosophy. To provide an example of such a description, we posted on our website a description of Kauai Adinam's Kadaval Hindu temple, which I would like to read to you. Mata, the Hindu denomination. Kadavul Hindu temple is of the Saivite tradition, the oldest of the four main denominations of Hinduism. The Tamil language of South India, our religion is known as Saiva Samayam, or simply Saivam. As Saivites, we worship the one supreme being as God Shiva, and Lords Ganesha and Murugan, whom God Shiva created to assist him in the care of his great creation. In Saivism, Shakti is God Shiva's power and is not separate from him. This is depicted most clearly in the image of God Shiva as Ardhanarishvara, whose left side is female and right side is male. Here there is no separate deity representing Shakti, for in our tradition the Supreme Being is neither male nor female, but encompasses both. That's a nice clear photo, isn't it? Agama, the scriptures. Every Hindu temple relies on a sacred text as its source of spiritual ritual, usually an agama. The agamas are an enormous collection of Sanskrit scriptures which, along with the Vedas, are revered as revealed scripture. Like the Vedas, the agamas, literally that which came down, were part of an oral tradition and are as old as 7,000 to 8,000 years as oral tradition. They are the primary source and authority for ritual, yoga, and temple construction. In the South Indian Saivite tradition, there are 28 Saiva agamas. As in temples run by the Shivacharyas of South India, the traditional liturgy performed in Kadavul Hindu temple takes as its spiritual authority the Kamika and Karana agamas and their derivative priestly manuals called Padati. So if you haven't heard of the word Padati, it's what the priests really study. It's like a practical textbook drawn from the Agama. So there's a couple of different Padatis, and I'm certainly not that knowledgeable in it, but around Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, maybe there's 4 different Padatis that have each has a different emphasis. Murti, the deity. We worship the Supreme Being as Shiva, enshrined in the main sanctum in the form of a spotless crystal lingam and a 6-foot-tall bronze murti of Nataraja. Worship of the Shiva lingam in India dates back to the very beginning of the Saivite religion, millennia ago. The lingam is the most prevalent emblem. The lingam is the most prevalent emblem of Shiva, found in virtually all Shiva temples. It is the simplest and most ancient symbol of God, representing absolute reality, beyond all forms and qualities, Parashiva. Nataraja, king of dance, is perhaps Hinduism's richest and most eloquent symbol, representing God with form, known as Parameshvara, the supreme ruler or primal soul. The dance of Shiva is the dance of the entire cosmos. Within the symbolism of Shiva's dance, we find his 5 Shaktis or powers: creation or emanation, preservation, destruction, dissolution, or absorption; obscuring grace, the power which hides the truth, thereby permitting experience, growth, and fulfillment of destiny; and revealing grace, which grants knowledge and severs the soul's bond. Temples with prominent Nataraja images are rare and are primarily found in South India, most notably at Chidambaram. Archaka, the priesthood. As Kadavul Hindu temple is part of a monastery, the Matavasis or monastics naturally form its primary priesthood. Amongst potent spiritual disciplines make the temple powerful, its vibration pure. The monks perform pujas every 3 hours in Kadavul temple, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The primary daily puja is held at 9 a.m. under the aegis of the late Shiva Shri, Dr. T.S. Sambamurti Shivacharyar, head of the South India Archaka Sangam. Adi Sahib priests came to Kauai's Hindu monastery in the mid-1980s to train qualified monastics in the art of Parartha Puja, worship for the benefit of others. to be performed daily in the Adinam's established temples. Up until this time, only Saivite Brahmins of the hereditary Adi Saiva priest lineage were entitled to conduct rites in agamic Shiva temples. Audible Temple brings adept Adishaiva priests from South India or elsewhere for special ceremonies, such as Kumbhabhishekams and other major events. Sometimes we also have unmarried Adishaivas help with the daily pujas in the temple and provide additional chanting and pujari training to the Matavasis. Darshana, the philosophy. The philosophy followed and taught at Kadavul Hindu temple is the non-dualistic Saiva Siddhanta, Advaita Siddhanta, Rishi Tirumalar and his guru Maharishi Nandinatha, which proclaims that God Shiva is love, both eminent and transcendent, both the creator and the creation. He is the totality of all, understood in three perfections. Para Shiva, absolute reality which transcends all. Para Shakti, the energy which permeates all form. And Parameshvara, the personal creator Lord. Simply put, God Shiva is all and is in all. Souls and world are identical in essence with Shiva. It also differ in that they are evolving. This philosophy differs from the dualistic form of Saiva Siddhanta propounded by Mekandar, which teaches that God is Lord and separate from the soul and world. Anubhava, the vision. It is said that the most powerful temples are those founded by the gods themselves through visions. Kadavul Hindu temple is such a temple. Gurudeva describes his vision and the events leading up to the temple's founding. At Mahashivaratri time in 1973, in the jungles of Kauai, our Kadavul Nataraja deity, Lord of the Dance, arrived at Kauai Adinam and was placed in the gardens overlooking the sacred Wailua River, where it was spontaneously decorated, bathed, and worshipped. That night, the exact location of the deity's installation was chosen by Lord Muruga himself, when he appeared to me in an early morning vision, me being Gurudeva, upturned his glistening veil, his scepter of spiritual discernment, and powerfully pounded its point 3 times on the cement steps at the Adinam entrance, marking the precise spot to place the deity. This mystical vision marked the founding of Kadavul Hindu temple. So those of you who have this picture, it's easier than, I'm sure, looking at it on the screen. Small, but looking at the picture on the left side is the veil that's symbolizing this vision. So Kadavul Hindu temple was started by Lord Murugan, and the veil is there to honor that. I always like to say it's also interesting that it's, at that time, 1973, the building didn't look like it does today. There was no Kadavul Hindu temple. Where the Nataraja is placed was the front steps of the building. So you imagine a fancy home. This was a somewhat run-down fancy home, built in 1927, and we acquired it in 1970. So Nataraja took over the front entrance. So no longer could anyone go in the front entrance. We all go in the side entrance like good servants of God Shiva. So, very interesting. And anyone who was super sharp noticed I didn't include Anubhava in the initial list of qualities to list, because of course if there's no vision you can't list a vision. But for those temples who have a vision, then it's good to add that. And the vision has a second part here. Shortly after the installation of the Nataraja deity, Gurudeva received what he called a magical boon of reading clairvoyantly from inner plane manuscripts, which he then dictated to his monks over a 2-year period. These writings from the Devas and Mahadevas formed the Shastras, spiritual instructions that now guide his monastic order. During the same time, Gurudeva received Devanic instructions. Their written prayers could be sent to the inner world Devas by being burned in the sacred fire inside Kadavul temple. On auspicious days, hundreds of prayers from all over the world are offered into the temple fire. The magical happenings and answers to these petitions have become part of the temple's renown. Writing and delivering prayers to the Devaloka through the sacred fire is an ancient Nada Sampradaya practice. Today, this method of communication is still employed in Shinto and Taoist temples in Japan, China, Singapore, Malaysia, and other areas of Southeast Asia. The prayers are written down and placed in the temple fire. As the wood or paper burns, the astral double of the prayer appears in the Devaloka. The prayer is then read by the devas, who proceed to carry out the devotees' requests. These temple devas are fully dedicated to assist all who come through the temple doors with their emotional, mental, and physical problems. So in Hawaii, this tradition, as well as certain other Saivite aspects of religion, are carried forward by the Shingon Buddhist sect. So the Shingon Buddhist sect actually does regular Homa ceremonies and burns prayers. So you can find pictures of it on the web, which I did, in Japanese script there. Shingon Buddhism. They also have, that's the sect that has Kumara as the deity which protects the monastery and the teachings. Sound familiar? In conclusion, Hinduism has a great diversity within its many denominations and philosophies. When temples make their traditions better known, devotees can better understand the concepts behind the ceremonies performed and teachings presented, and better appreciate each temple for the unique aspect of Hinduism it is presenting. So that's where we are, and we'll do some more on this subject in the future. It's very important because it's very confusing. If someone doesn't actually know their denomination, then they read what's on these temple websites. Really confusing. Thank you very much.